The museum, the National Public Housing Museum, collects and preserves and shares those stories by identifying individuals who grew up in public housing, lived through public housing in the United States and around the world, and telling the story virtually of the least advantaged among us, but how that place or those places of public housing were ultimately places of promise. How it was a place for poor and working class families to actually have a place of hope, a center of hope. And for those who did not find their way up and out, how they yet found community, how they yet found a sense of hope and pride, even where others saw poverty and hopelessness, that there's a place for everyone to call home. And how do we understand and appreciate what the value of home is for others, even when it doesn't look like what the value of home is for ourselves? Well, the experience of individuals of different ethnic groups in the Jane Addams homes here in the city of Chicago, the Italians, the Jews, and the African Americans, when the Jane Addams homes opened in 1938, was very different. The near west side of Chicago was a very impoverished community that had predominantly been settled by Europeans. When the Jane Addams homes were erected, they were predominantly built for poor whites, poor and working class whites. When African Americans finally arrived there, they were all regulated to one building. So it was not an integrated space, but the neighbors virtually integrated themselves as children. If you hear the stories of the children, they learned to laugh and play together because they did not understand their difference. As the community emerges and changes over the time period that it's open and it closes in 2002, lots of things had happened, from the Brooks Amendment, which put income regulations on who could live in public housing, from Senator Edward Brooks, a Republican from Massachusetts, to different things that had happened with funding and resources in local government, to by the time that the Jane Addams homes closes, it's a predominantly African American community where Italians and Jews had left, but what's very distinct about it is that it still remains in this near West Side community that was distinctively known as Little Italy. So this African American, quote, project is now isolated in Little Italy. So it is culturally distinct, but yet it's overtly poor. Then in the demographics change, and it's a lot to do with how institutionalized poverty happens in urban cities more than anything.